Robin Nelson wears many hats in her life. She is a loving wife, mother, grandmother, and friend. But I feel like she wears a cape as well because Robin serves as captain of her team, Families Fighting Alzheimer's, as part of the organization Alzheimer's Tennessee. Please help me welcome Robin Nelson to my show. Robin, thank you so much for being on today to talk about this really important topic. Yeah, let's just jump right in. So November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month.
Yes.
And that is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and she passed away in 1999. And so ever since then, I've had a really soft spot in my heart for people who suffer from this horrific disease. Alzheimer's is known as the silent epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that?
Yes, I have.
What makes it an epidemic?
Well, there's so many people that come up that are diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It's now the 6th leading disease in the U.S. And it basically affects 60 and older. The ones that do get it before 60 are your early onset. 1 out of 3 people will be women. But there are men that, that do get it. And it's just that people don't really know it's a buildup of your beta amyloid and different. You can have blood work done, but it creeps up on you with no warning. You slowly start forgetting things. You don't remember names or places. You might go out and forget where you are, how to get back.
Yeah, it is. It's just such a sad topic to even talk about, but I wanted to highlight it because there's so many people, I think, who probably suffer with it or see their family members suffering and they really don't realize. I think because it is such a sly disease because, I'm 55, and so growing up I always heard the term senile. Oh, I'm just senile. I'm getting old and forgetful. But there's actually a real reason for it besides,
Right.
like, oh, I'm just senile or whatever. And it's a horrific disease, like I said, but it does sneak up on people, and we just sometimes say, oh, well, I'm just forgetful. The fact that my grandmother had it and she died at 74, which 74 sounds old, but it's really not old.
Not anymore.
So sometimes when I go through, especially when I had breast cancer 3 years ago and I had the brain fog, the chemo fog, I was like, oh, is it early onset Alzheimer's? I mean, so that's definitely a concern of mine. And do you know if there's tests that we can have if we
There
have a
is tests
predisposition?
that you can have, and well, let me tell you, some of the people associated with heart disease can increase your Alzheimer risk. You can have high blood pressure, diabetes, your BMI could be high, smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, and physical inability. You don't do enough physical exercise.
Yeah.
That can also contribute.
Yeah.
The tests that you can do are I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Let me ask you this while you're looking. Would you recommend that people get tested if they have somebody in their family who had it, like with my grandmother? Would you recommend that I be on the lookout for it, or is that something I should just kind of wait on? And
My mom had Alzheimer's. She was diagnosed when she was 73. She lived 10 years with it. Found out after she passed. My aunt got it. My grandmother had it. So I am really worried as far as my family, and that's why I've been involved with Alzheimer Tennessee for close to 20 years. It can be hereditary. To me, if I did the test and I found out I was a candidate, I don't know how I would handle it. But then again, I work really hard with my fundraisers and stuff because I don't want my son to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
One hand, you would want to know, and then in the next, I don't know if I could know.
Yeah. I think personally, I think I would want to know because I'm the type that like, even with my breast cancer, I'm like, when I found out, I was like, okay, let's tackle this. Let's just, go for it. I'm always up for a fight. So I think, I might change my mind in 5 years, but I think I would want to know because that way I could maybe watch out for or plan and prepare for the future.
And there is medicines now. There's been like 2 approved drugs in the last 6 months or so. There is a medicine you can take from a doctor that will slow it down. Unfortunately, there's no cure. So,
Yeah, that's the sad part, it's just there is no cure. And the medicine you were talking about, is that the Aricept? Yeah, I've heard of that. I have someone that's close to me that takes that. So you mentioned 1 in 3 women get it, so that would
Yes.
make two out of 3 men who get it. So do you have any statistics like in the U.S. how many people were diagnosed last year?
I did, yes. Let me see here. 1 in 9 people, over the age of 65. 1 in 10 will be diagnosed before age 65. There will be roughly 14 million people living with Alzheimer's by the year 2060.
Oh,
All told, 1 in 3 people over 65 will die with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia.
wow. Do you think it's, I don't know. Do you think it's environmental? Or I'm sure there are some environmental things that contribute to it.
We
But-
used to be told from my aluminum, grandparents always cooked with aluminum. And, is that a contributing factor over the years? But my grandmother lived to 95, and we never knew she had Alzheimer's until it was on her death certificate.
Wow. So she didn't have any of the signs and symptoms like
She had some forgetfulness, but
But-
she was,
Wow.
yeah, I did not know she had Alzheimer's until I saw her certificate.
I have been watching a YouTube channel called Dementia Care Blazers, and that lady is so helpful. I mean, she is really helpful. And she mentioned the other day, I was watching a video, and she said, like, one of the things that people can have it, and you may not even know it because not everybody is that, the stereotypical forgetful. Not
Right.
everybody has that.
Not
So,
everybody
yeah.
does have that, and there are different things will accelerate it. Now, you could change environment. If a spouse were to pass and you have different caregiving, that can accelerate it. I have a friend who lost 2 children in the course of 9 months. It just accelerated hers really bad.
Yeah. I also know that if a person is diabetic and their sugar gets high, that causes confusion anyway, but it does cause the dementia to be a lot worse.
Yes.
So there's different types of dementia, but I don't know. I know I've heard of Lewy body, vascular dementia, which is what my grandmother had. What are some other types? Do you
There are
know?
other types, and I had those. Let me see. There's the vascular dementia, the dementia that you can get from Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
There's a Lewy body dementia, a frontotemporal dementia, also called the Pick's disease.
Oh, wow.
And it's Jacob disease. I'm not sure how you pronounce the first word, but
Oh,
yes, there
okay.
are several different types.
Yeah. Now that vascular dementia, that, like I said, my grandmother had that. It eventually led to a major stroke. She was having little mini strokes, and of course she had all the lesions on the brain and stuff like that. But my granny had smoked for years. She quit in like 1982 and then died in 99. But still, the damage was done. You know what I
Right.
mean? The damage was done, and but that's what she had, and in the end, it did cause a major stroke. And she lived for probably a year and a half after the stroke, but she was bedbound and couldn't speak, couldn't do anything. It was so sad. It was really sad. So, but But anyway, so you mentioned that you work with Alzheimer's Tennessee. And I want to
Yes.
hold this up. You brought me, thank you for bringing me this. I appreciate this. This little starter kit or,
Well, it's a silver alert kit
okay.
for those families that might need help in tracking a loved one that might wander off, and that gives them different help in there to locate them. Alzheimer's Tennessee will do a broadcast. They will post a picture, and they don't stop until they find the person. And my daughter-in-law, her father, suffers from Alzheimer's, and he was at a Books A Million in Knoxville and left his 15-year-old daughter there and took off. Spent a night in North Carolina with no water, no food, and they helped to locate him.
Oh, wow. That's great.
It's very
So-
useful.
Yeah, it is. So what is Alzheimer's Tennessee exactly? It's an organization, I'm sure, that works.
It is the organization for the state of Tennessee. There is a Chicago-based, which is the Alzheimer Tennessee organization. Alzheimer Tennessee branched out from them, so we only cover the state of Tennessee. Now, the one that I do my most work for is the Smoky Mountain Walk, which covers Cocke County, Jefferson, Hamblin, and Sevier. All monies raised stays in those 4 counties.
Oh, that's great. That's really great that I mean, I know everybody needs help, but it's good that when we have something here in our area, the money stays here.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I'm not trying to say like people don't need help everywhere, but if you're working hard in your hometown to raise money, you want people in your hometown
Less
to
and
benefit.
less money was coming here. Chicago, you're covering the whole United States. We wanted everything to stay in these 4 counties. Knoxville has their own walk. Cookeville has a walk. There's several different walks.
Oh, good. And when did those walks happen? Did they happen in November?
Nope. The Knoxville walk is in April. Ours is in October. I really don't know when the rest of them are, but there's 4 or 5, and they are scattered throughout from April on.
That's good. Then you could go to each one of them.
Yes.
Then everybody's not
Yes.
hitting it up on a weekend in November, the same weekend. So
Right.
yeah. So I had a couple of years ago in one of my classes, I had to write a research paper, and I chose Alzheimer's to write it on, and the research that I did shocked me to find out the financial burden that a family goes through when one of their loved ones has this disease. I mean, even if they receive assistance through Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever, there's still a hefty financial strain that happens to the families. I mean,
You can pay out more than $250,000
gosh.
in care and help and assistance, yes.
So what can we do what do you think? Is it something our government needs to do to help? Is it something that you're just hoping that individuals like yourself can help, or is it something bigger than that?
Every February, Alzheimer Tennessee gets a busload of people, and they go to Nashville, and they go to the Capitol to push for legislation on Alzheimer's.
Oh.
But anybody that wants to help, contact Alzheimer Tennessee, alztennessee.org, and you can make donations. They've got caregiving, coping groups, everything that you could find for this area, you could get help with them.
Yeah, we'll put all the links on the screen at the end
Yeah.
of the show. So we talked about the gender. Is there any particular population that Alzheimer's is more prevalent in? Is it or like a race or nationality or?
Well, it's funny you should ask that, because when I was looking up today, I saw where it is more prevalent in the Black community, and I did not know that.
Yeah.
Let me see. The Hispanics, you do have a lot of your white community, but it was like one in so many blacks are getting Alzheimer's, and I didn't know that. I didn't know it was more or less race, but it seems like it is.
Yeah, whenever I, do any kind of research, I try to look at how things are broken down like that, and it is, and I mean a lot of things like other things that people get, like in third world countries, we can understand why. Maybe they don't have the opportunity for health care, but here in the United States, it's, I didn't know if it did hit one population more so than another one. So, so let's talk about caregivers and what they go through. So in my research, like I said, for that paper, it was really in depth. I think it was like a 20-page paper. One of the parts of it I had to cover was caregivers and the burden that happened, or I hate to say the word burden. Let me rephrase that. What happens with them, because it's never a burden to take care of a loved one.
Correct.
But your body suffers. I mean, I was shocked to find out that caregivers have higher rates of heart disease. They have diabetes. They don't sleep much. Or like my grandpa, listen, God bless him, he was a great man. He slept with one eye open and one eye closed because my granny would get up and wander out of the house. He finally had to put a lock way up at the top where she couldn't reach it, at the top of the door, like a deadbolt, just to keep her in. And I just saw so much of what he had to do and what he went through and the toll it took on his body. And then after she died, a couple of years later, he actually got, lung cancer and brain cancer, and he passed away too. And I just wonder if some of the stress added to that, so.
It does.
Yeah. So what do you recommend for caregivers? What do they do to take care of themselves?
Well, until they get to the point that they can't take care of themselves, we let, like my mother-in-law and my mom, we let them do as much as they can for themselves. Once they feel like they're helpless, my feeling was she went downhill faster. I mean, my mom would cry, "What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this?" And if the more independence you can give them, but then you got to be careful. Like, they get out of the house. Sometimes they become combative. Sometimes you'll hear words that you would never think came out of their mouth. They get cursive and, but the more you can work with them and assure them that they're okay, they're going to be taken care of, it goes a long way in them dealing with it, because they know something is wrong.
Yeah.
They can pick up, I'm not all here, and it's really hard. It's hard on the caregiver. And we have my father-in-law living with us. He doesn't have Alzheimer's, thank goodness, but we have some caregivers coming in to help us. The one thing they told us was, you've got to take care of yourself. If that means getting out an hour a day, 2 hours a day, you have to do it, because it wears on you mentally, it wears on you physically. And if you're not there for them, there's nobody else going to be.
That's true. Listen, I mean, it's so sad that I'm tearing up because it is such a sad subject. So excuse me for crying, but it is really sad. I just keep thinking about how close it hits to my home, or hit to my home. So yeah. So what do you tell me what the one thing is that you want people to know before we end? What is the one thing you want people to know? The most important thing about Alzheimer's awareness that you want people to know?
There is help.
There's help.
There is help. If you're in this county or surrounding counties, contact Alzheimer Tennessee. There is so many people there that can assist you in coming and checking on them, setting you up with people that will come and check on your loved ones, putting you in the right direction of caring, coping. There's classes. I've been to classes on it, and they're very informative. There's doctors, you wouldn't believe, but you need lawyers.
Yeah.
So many different things, and there is help. I just can't stress enough, don't do it on your own. Get the help that you need. If it's not through Alzheimer Tennessee, then do your research, and you can find help.
You know, I just want to say thank you once again for coming, but I also want to thank you for what you do. I said in the intro that I feel like you wear a cape because you are a champion. You're captain of your team. You're a champion for this cause and for the people who suffer and for families. And so I want to thank you from my heart for what you do. It's really touching because it is such a sad time in people's lives. So, but yeah, and I'm glad you said that there is help, because so many times when we're going through something, we feel alone. I don't care what it is. We feel alone because we don't know, like, you know, I didn't know the resources that were out there for Alzheimer's, for this or to get help or whatever until you start digging. And so if you don't have people like you who are out raising awareness, going on shows, doing the walks, doing the fundraisers you guys set up on downtown sometimes, if you're not out there, then people won't know about it. So bringing awareness to any topic like this is very important. So
Our group is really big in fundraising. We have a roadblock in Newport coming up this week.
oh, good.
But if I didn't, every time we do a fundraiser, our group prays. And I always look up and say, Mama, this one's for you.
Oh,
and she blesses me.
yeah, good.
And I will continue to do this fight for those that can't, or I'm going to help those that can't.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. So
Thank you.
yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching today. And if, like I said, the links will be on the screen at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. If you need anything, go to Alzheimer's Tennessee and you can get help. Thank you for watching. Tune in again next week for another exciting episode. And remember to always dream big, because big dreams do come true.